As the Mongols swept across Asia, mighty empires and kingdoms like the Song dynasty, Dolly Kingdom either crumbled or surrendered under their relentless military force. Asian nations fought valiantly, employing massive armies, fortified defenses, and strategic ingenuity. Yet few could halt the advance of this unstoppable juggernaut. However, glimmers of resistance emerged, such as the Japanese, shielded by the legendary divine wind Kamikaze and the Luxat in Galut, proving that even the fiercest storm could be weathered. But what about Europe? Could the fragmented feudal kingdoms and heavily armored knights of the West stand against a foe as swift and brutal as the Mongols? While Asian defenders relied on familiar terrain and traditional tactics, Europe faced an entirely alien challenge, confronting an enemy whose methods defied everything they had encountered before. In this exploration, we'll uncover how European armies used everything from castle defense to battlefield tactics to confront the Mongols. Before diving into the Mongols' devastating incursions into Europe, let's step back and examine their early crucial encounters with European states. In the early 13th century, the Mongol Empire, led by Genghis Khan, was in a period of rapid expansion. After conquering vast territories in East Asia, including China, Central Asia, and parts of the Khesan Empire, the Mongols turned their sights westward, the Eastern Rus principalities. For the Mongols, these territories were not just a borderland, but also a crucial gateway to Europe. In 1222, Genghis Khan sent two of his most trusted generals, Subai and Jebe, on a reconnaissance mission into the Aras territories. Their orders were to scout the region and assess its strength. Along the way, they encountered the nomadic Cuman and Kipchak tribes living on the steppes. The Cumans and Kipchaks, alarmed by the Mongols' presence, sought help from neighboring principalities. Among these, Kiev played a key role in forming a coalition to confront the Mongols. In the spring of 1223, Subai and Jebe led their forces to the Kala River, where they faced the combined armies of several Rus' principalities and the Cuman tribes. Despite the size of the coalition, the Mongols' superior tactics and discipline proved decisive. The Cuman forces were shattered, and the Rus army suffered a catastrophic defeat, losing an estimated 50,000 men. In contrast, Mongol casualties were minimal. The Battle of Kalala was a watershed moment, marking the Mongols' first significant appearance in Europe. After their victory, Subutai withdrew eastward, but the Mongols left behind a network of spies in the Rus' territories. These agents continuously reported on local affairs, laying the groundwork for future campaigns. Armed with intelligence and strategic foresight, Subai returned in 1237 alongside Batu Khan, leading a massive force of 120,000 troops. This marked the start of a full-scale Mongol invasion of the Rus lands. The campaign was brutal and efficient. Over the next 3 years, the Mongols systematically destroyed the major Rus' principalities, including Kiev. By 1240, the Mongols had effectively subdued Rus. In following the destruction of the Rus states, the Mongols expanded their reach. Subutai and Batu sent spies and scouts deep into Poland, Hungary, and even as far as Austria. These reconnaissance missions were part of their meticulous planning for a grand assault on Central Europe. As meticulously planned, the Mongols launched a 5-pronged attack in 1241. Kaidu and Orda Khan devastated northern Poland. Bayer ravaged southern Poland. Shaban crossed the rugged terrain of northeastern Hungary, while Subai and Batu led the central invasion into Hungary, and Guyuk advanced south through Transylvania. This division of forces was a calculated move, designed to confuse the Europeans about their ultimate objectives and to defeat individual armies before they could unite into a central force. Meanwhile, Mongol forces pushed into eastern parts of the Holy Roman Empire and Austria, spreading panic across the region. In August 1241, Pope Gregory IX passed away, leaving a power vacuum in the Catholic Church at a time when Europe faced the looming Mongol threat. To deal with this complex situation, King Bela IV of Hungary desperately appealed to Frederick, the son of the Holy Roman Emperor, for help. However, Frederick, who had long-standing disputes with Bela, as Bela had sided with the Pope against him, refused to commit to a major military expedition, declining to cross into Hungary. Frederick focused instead on rallying support within Germany to prepare for the Mongol invasion. He vowed to protect the empire on this side of the Alps. However, his efforts to unite German princes and kings failed spectacularly, devolving into civil war in Germany by the fall of 1241. At the beginning of 1242, the Mongol army continued their large-scale pillaging during their withdrawal from Hungary. Their raids extended into the Balkans, posing a significant threat to Constantinople, which was under the control of the Latin Empire at the time. As they retreated, Batu deployed additional forces into Halina-Volhynia, further destabilizing the region. By spring, the Mongols were still plundering the areas they passed through, leaving nothing but devastation in their wake. Batu eventually halted his forces, not returning to Mongolia, but instead settling in the Volga steppes. From there, he established a strategic base, maintaining a constant threat to Europe in the west. Europe remained fractured and unprepared for a unified response. The Holy Roman Empire and other kingdoms were entangled in internal conflicts. To make matters worse, the Sinton War erupted between France and England, diverting attention and resources away from the Mongol threat. Therefore, organizing a crusade against the Mongol Empire was very difficult. Despite Emperor Frederick II's repeated calls for unity and letters urging England and France, the two strongest powers in Europe at the time, to take action, no significant effort was made to prepare for another Mongol invasion. Europe remained vulnerable, with no clear strategy to counter the looming danger. For those on the front lines of a potential Mongol return, such as Bela IV, King of Hungary, the situation in the fall of 1242 was far from reassuring. Within just a few years, the infamous Mongol invasions had scarred Europe in ways that seemed impossible to heal. The numbers alone painted a devastating picture of the destruction they left behind. When the Mongols swept through Rus, Hungary and Poland, it's estimated that 5 to 10 million people were killed within just 2 decades. Major cities were nearly wiped off the map, with populations declining by 80 to 90%. Take Kiev, for example, a bustling hub of culture and trade, with around 50,000 inhabitants before the invasion. After the Mongols attacked, only a few hundred survivors remained, mostly those who had managed to flee in time. In Poland, the destruction was just as catastrophic. The Mongols razed over 70% of major settlements, including cities like Kov and Sandomir. Poland's population dropped by 30 to 40%, and many areas were abandoned for decades. The regions touched by the Mongol horde often became dead zones, unable to recover even after the fighting stopped. The toll on Eastern Europe's land was staggering. An estimated 30 to 50% of arable land was either destroyed or rendered unusable due to the invasions. Roads, bridges, and critical infrastructure were obliterated, grinding trade to a halt. Local economies took anywhere from 50 to 100 years to recover, and some areas never regained their pre-invasion prosperity. Hungary, however, bore the brunt of the devastation, leaving a haunting legacy that echoed across Europe. The Battle of Mohi became infamous as one of the worst military defeats in Hungarian history. Around 50% of Hungary's population at the time, approximately 1 million people, were killed or enslaved. Rural areas were particularly hard hit, with 40 to 50% of villages completely burned to the ground. Agricultural production came to a standstill for years, triggering widespread famine and a prolonged economic crisis. The destruction extended beyond mere numbers. The Mongols didn't just decimate armies, they dismantled entire societies. The psychological scars left behind were immense, as survivors faced not only physical ruin, but the constant fear of another invasion. And that's exactly why King Bela IV returned to Hungary and immediately set out to rebuild his kingdom. He was convinced that the Mongols wouldn't simply withdraw and spare Europe. His suspicions were reinforced throughout his reign, as he frequently received threatening letters from the Mongols demanding his submission. The first step Bela took to prepare for future Mongol invasions was to build more fortified stone castles. He had noticed that during the Mongol rampage, while much of Europe lay in ruins, the 5 stone castles east of the Danube had miraculously survived the invasion. Meanwhile, wooden and earthen fortresses had been easily destroyed by the Mongol siege weapons. At that time, Hungary only had about 10 stone castles, most of them near the Austrian border, where much of Hungary's population had been forced to flee. To improve the kingdom's defenses, Bela ordered and encouraged the nobility to construct additional stone fortresses, especially in rugged, hard-to-reach areas west of the Danube. By the end of his reign, Bela had overseen the construction of nearly 100 new fortresses, a remarkable increase aimed at protecting Hungary from future attacks. Previously, Hungary had relied primarily on wooden castles and light cavalry. However, this strategy had proven ineffective against the Mongol army. While Hungary's light cavalry struggled, the few heavily armored knights, mostly from the Templar order, performed much better in close combat. Bela recognized the need for a more effective military force. In response, he created a new corps of heavily armored knights, modeled after those in Western Europe. In 1247, Bela struck a deal with the Knights of St. John, granting them land in southeastern Hungary. In exchange, they assisted him in building more armored cavalry units and fortifications. Bela's efforts to strengthen Hungary's defenses marked a significant shift in strategy. By combining stronger fortifications and a restructured military, he prepared his kingdom for the possibility of another Mongol invasion, a threat that loomed over Hungary for years to come. 2 years later, small and medium landowners who served directly under the king were also recognized as nobles. New settlers were granted conditional noble status if they agreed to fight as armored cavalry when needed. This marked a significant shift, and the Hungarian military improved so much that an envoy of King Charles V of Anjou enthusiastically reported, "The Hungarian royal house has incredible power. Its military forces are so large that nobody in the east and the north dares even budge. If the triumphant and glorious king mobilizes his army, most of the countries and princes of the north and east belong to his empire by kinship or conquest." By 1259, King Bela IV of Hungary reached out to the Pope, seeking assistance in negotiating with Venice to hire at least 1,000 crossbowmen. Venice, known for its long-standing military tradition, was particularly renowned for its naval power and the effective deployment of crossbow troops. In addition to their naval strength, the Venetians were highly skilled infantry, excelling in both land and sea battles. Bela IV likely understood that Venice could provide well-trained troops, an essential boost to Hungary's defenses against future invasions. This initiative reflected a broader effort to modernize Hungary's military capabilities in response to threats from formidable enemies like the Mongols. The strategic decision to turn to Venice for crossbowmen was influenced by the weapon's proven effectiveness in past confrontations with the Mongols. Even though Hungary had not widely adopted crossbows during the first invasion, Bela's foresight demonstrated his commitment to learning from past mistakes and ensuring his kingdom would be better prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. About the diplomatic strategy, one of Bela IV's key strategies was bringing the Cumans back into his kingdom. These Turkic nomads had sought refuge in Hungary before, only to abandon Bela for the Mongols after their leader was assassinated. To win them back, Bela offered land and marriage alliances. His son married a princess, and the Cumans were granted a portion of the great Hungarian plain that had been devastated by the Mongols. The hope was that these now settled Cumans would serve as the first line of defense if the Mongols returned. Another major strategy was establishing a web of marriage alliances with the Polish dukes, the Dukes of Bavaria, the princes of Halina-Volhynia, and Rus princes who had fled to Hungary. In the case of Halina-Volhynia, Bela encouraged its ruler, Daniil Romanovich, to assert independence from the Mongols as the king of Ruthenia, creating a convenient buffer state between Hungary and the Mongol Empire. Beyond these alliances, Bela maintained contact with the Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor, seeking support in the form of money, troops, or any resources they could provide. Initially, Bela received backing from Pope Innocent IV, who had taken 2 years to be elected following the death of Celestine IV, the successor to Gregory IX. Pope Innocent IV convened the Council of Lions, an event that brought together hundreds of clergy from across Europe to address the major issues facing the Church and the continent, including the Mongol threat. Recognizing the need to learn more about this formidable enemy, the Pope commissioned several diplomatic missions. The most notable envoy was Giovanni da Pian del Carpine. At the age of 65, Carpini embarked on a grueling journey to Karakorum, the Mongol Empire's capital, and returned with letters from the Great Khan addressed to the Pope and European monarchs, demanding their submission to Mongol rule. Carpini's mission was remarkable, not only for the sheer distance and dangers he faced, but also for the wealth of information he gathered throughout his travels. He meticulously observed, took notes, and interviewed anyone who could provide insights, particularly European prisoners who had survived Mongol invasions and knew their strategies well. Thanks to his efforts, Carpini compiled a detailed book that offered specific guidelines on how to counter the Mongol army. Most of Carpini's recommendations involved imitating the Mongol military. For instance, scouts needed to be on constant alert day and night, while the army itself should be organized using the Turkic-Mongol decimal structure for easier command. Troops had to advance or retreat together, strictly following orders and avoiding splitting into small groups that could be destroyed individually. Additionally, the army needed to operate under unified leadership, as no single force or fragmented group could stand against the Mongols. Carpini also introduced a critical strategy, exploiting the divisions between the Mongols and the peoples they ruled. He believed that if these oppressed populations were liberated, they could become powerful allies against the Mongol Empire. This perspective highlighted the importance of unity in building an effective defense line against the threat from the east. However, it seemed that Carpini's reports and recommendations were not enough to convince European countries to unite as one. After the Prince of Halachalinia, encouraged by Hungary and the Pope, declared his independence against the Mongols, he received no support. Poland found itself in a similar situation. The 1260 Mongol invasion, led by Berke, caused immense devastation, even worse than the first Mongol attacks. The Polish received no external help, and the battles were mostly sieges, where the Mongols quickly defeated the Polish defenders. The Mongols withdrew with plunder and prisoners, free to ravage the countryside. In Bulgaria, Prince Nogai's forces raided annually during the 1270s. It wasn't until 1283 that Nogai's army, led by a Byzantine ally, suffered a significant military defeat at the hands of the Serbs in a failed crossing of the Drim River. Nogai and Prince Talabuga launched a major attack on the Kingdom of Hungary in 1285. We're aiming to hit 1,000 likes within the first 24 hours, and we really need your support to make it happen. It only takes 1 to 2 seconds. Just click that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. These small actions from you mean the world to us and help our channel grow so we can keep bringing you great content. Thank you so much. The Mongols followed a similar playbook, splitting their forces into two main groups. Nogai came through Transylvania, while Talabuga pushed in through Transcarpathia and Moravia. They even sent a smaller group straight into the center of Hungary, kind of retracing the steps of Khadan from the first invasion. Their strategy was similar: to speed and surprise. This strategy was already used in the invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire under Genghis Khan, where the Mongol army split into smaller units, advancing through multiple routes to give the impression of a much larger force. This division allowed them to overwhelm the Khwarezmians, who couldn't predict where the next attack would strike, leading to their downfall. Similarly, in their campaigns against the Song dynasty, the Mongols relied on rivers as fast transport routes, moving quickly to catch the Song forces off guard. They also utilized a comprehensive intelligence network, gathering crucial information about enemy weaknesses. This allowed the Mongols to strike decisively and with precision, ensuring their dominance across southern China. And now they invaded in winter, hoping to catch the Hungarians totally off guard. By moving so fast, they wanted to prevent King Ladislaus from pulling together a large enough army to face them in one big, decisive battle. The Mongols were all about picking apart their enemies bit by bit. This time around, the Mongols had fewer distractions. No civil wars in their empire or big battles elsewhere, so Nogai was able to bring a massive army to the party. It was likely between 30,000 and 50,000 strong. This figure includes cavalry units provided by their vassal states, such as the Ruthenian princes, which helped strengthen the Mongol ranks. Mongol soldiers were well-equipped and highly mobile. They wore chainmail or scale armor, which was both lightweight and flexible, ideal for quick movements. Their steel helmets were designed to protect the face and neck, offering essential defense without sacrificing agility. Known for their skill with short bows, Mongols could shoot accurately from horseback, giving them a huge advantage in battle. In addition to their bows, they carried curved swords and spears for close quarters fighting, along with maces and axes to break through enemy armor. On the Hungarian side, an estimated 30,000 men formed the defensive force, including local contingents like the Saxons, Vlachs, and Shekelis, who were called upon to defend their homeland. United in their resistance, these local troops played a crucial role in holding off the Mongol advance. And now, Talabuga, leading the main Mongol force, hit a wall of problems as soon as they entered northern Hungary. The Carpathians weren't kind, dumping heavy snow on them and making the march a nightmare. But honestly, their troubles started long before that. Logistical chaos and food shortages had already taken a serious toll, and soldiers were dropping like flies. This wasn't just bad luck, though. The Hungarians had learned from their defeat in 1241 and were ready this time. As Napoleon famously said, "Never fight the same enemy too often, or you'll teach them all your tricks." That's exactly what happened here. The Hungarians played it smart, evacuating villages and fortifying castles while taking their supplies and livestock with them. This left the Mongols with nothing to loot. On top of that, advances in farming, like the heavy plough, had boosted food production, keeping the Hungarians well-fed and their army prepared for a long fight. Things got so desperate for the Mongols that Polish and Galician sources claimed thousands died on the march, with some even resorting to cannibalism. When Talabuga's forces attacked Pest, they found the town deserted, with its inhabitants safely sheltered in nearby castles. Meanwhile, Queen Elizabeth's entourage wasn't just sitting around. They launched a pretty bold attack from Buda's walls, which is a cool side note. Here's how it played out. The Mongols, masters of mobile warfare and archery, usually excelled in hit-and-run tactics, using their light cavalry to harass and exhaust their enemies. But the Hungarian knights were built for close, heavy combat. Usually the Mongols chose the battlefield to their advantage because they were on the attacking side. However, this time, they found themselves trapped in hostile territory because they could not cope with the stone castles and lacked food. As a result, they were forced to recover in a deplorable state, unaware that the Hungarians were definitely watching them closely. It was a unique strategy to counter the attacks of the Golden Horde. The Hungarian leaders devised a plan to infiltrate the Mongol ranks and gather vital intelligence. To accomplish this, Hungarian scouts were sent out wearing traditional Mongol clothing, including kaftans, curved nomadic shoes, and special headgear such as the deal hat. These scouts were armed with Mongol-style weapons, including curved bows and swords, making them visually indistinguishable from Mongol warriors. The Hungarian scouts easily blended seamlessly with the Mongol forces, gathering intelligence that proved advantageous for Hungary's defenses. This allowed Ladislaus's forces to time their charge perfectly, catching Talabuga's army off guard. The Mongols couldn't break through the ranks of these well-armored knights, and their usual tactics weren't working. This situation was similar to what occurred in the 10th century, when the nomadic Hungarian tribes raided Western Europe for a while, but were finally defeated at Augsburg in 955. As the Hungarians were returning to their lands laden with booty, Otto the Great chose a place to attack that did not allow the Hungarians enough room to maneuver, causing them to be quickly defeated. In this case, the Mongols were also soundly defeated. Talabuga, realizing his campaign was going downhill fast, ordered a retreat. But things went from bad to worse when his army, retreating through the Carpathians, got ambushed by the Sequai. These guys hit the Mongols hard with their own signature move, swift light cavalry strikes, just like the Mongols had done to so many of their enemies before. The ambush was brutal, wiping out most of Talabuga's forces. By the time he stumbled back into Mongol territory, the story goes that he returned with nothing but his wife and a single horse. Okay, that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but it shows just how disastrous the retreat was. Meanwhile, Nogai Khan, another Mongol leader, was busy pillaging in Transylvania. He stuck around until spring 1286, wreaking havoc on towns like Rodna, Brof, and Bystritsa. But just like Talabuga, he hit a brick wall when it came to Hungary's fortified castles. The Mongols didn't have the right siege equipment, and the Hungarian defenses were rock solid. King Ladislaus IV wasn't about to let Nogai run wild, though. He rallied his forces to take him on. But by the time Ladislaus got there, the local Hungarian troops, mostly Saxons, Vlachs and Shekelis under Roland Borsa, had already done most of the work. They crushed Nogai's army, leaving only stragglers for Ladislaus to mop up. By the end of it all, both Talabuga and Nogai were sent packing, and that was it for the Mongols in Hungary. The second invasion ended in complete failure, leaving the Mongols licking their wounds and Hungary stronger than ever. After Talabuga and Nogai were forced to retreat from Hungary, it seemed for a brief moment that the Mongol threat in Central Europe had been successfully contained. However, appearances were deceiving. The Mongols, ever persistent, were not ready to abandon their ambitions in the region. In 1287, Nogai and Talabuga shifted their focus to Poland, launching a third invasion. This campaign, however, proved less successful than their earlier endeavors. While Mongol forces succeeded in pillaging the countryside, their attempts to capture Poland's fortified cities were met with stiff resistance. The city walls held firm, and the Mongols were unable to penetrate these urban strongholds. Despite the devastation in rural areas, there was a glimmer of hope for those resisting the Mongol incursions. Several Hungarian lords, emboldened by their recent success in repelling the Mongols from their own lands, journeyed to Poland to provide military aid. This cooperation marked one of the rare instances of a semi-unified front against the Mongols in the region. Hungary and Poland, sharing the burden of defense, stood together against the looming threat of Mongol dominance. This invasion marked the last significant Mongol attempt to expand westward into Europe. Although the Golden Horde continued to conduct raids into European territories well into the 14th century, these were on a far smaller scale and lacked the strategic weight of their earlier campaigns. By the mid-13th century, the Mongols' grip on Central and Eastern Europe had begun to falter. Internal conflicts, coupled with external pressures, weakened their control. European powers, sensing an opportunity, began to push back. The Kingdom of Georgia, under the leadership of King George I the Brilliant, reclaimed its sovereignty, restoring Georgian dominance over its lands. In a bold move, they even seized the Empire of Trebizond from Mongol hands. Meanwhile, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania exploited the Golden Horde's internal strife to expand its territory. Lithuania's forces triumphed at the Battle of Blue Waters, securing lands like the Duchy of Kiev and pushing as far as the Dnieper River. However, their advance was eventually halted after their defeat at the Battle of the Vorskla River. The Grand Duchy of Moscow also began to assert itself, reclaiming many of the Russ's territories under Mongol control. This reclamation laid the foundation for the emergence of the Grand Duchy of Moscow, a new power that would rise from the remnants of Mongol domination. Hungary, too, took the initiative. In 1345, Hungarian forces invaded Mongol-held territories, capturing the lands that would later be known as Moldavia. At this time, even Western European powers began encountering the Mongols in the territories they had once conquered. A striking example was the siege of Kaffa in Crimea. Mongol forces under Janibeg laid siege to the city, but their efforts were thwarted when a Genoese relief force arrived. The Genoese inflicted a crushing defeat on the Mongols, killing 15,000 of their troops and destroying their siege equipment. In the following year, the Genoese blockaded Mongol ports in the region, forcing Janibeg to negotiate. By 1347, the Genoese had successfully re-established their colony in Tana on the Sea of Azov. The death of Özbeg Khan marked the beginning of a tumultuous period for the Golden Horde. The devastation of the Black Death swept through the region, compounded by ecological disasters and economic hardships. These challenges, coupled with successive civil wars, plunged the horde into chaos from 1360 to 1380. Although Toktamish temporarily stabilized the situation, his efforts were undone by the arrival of a formidable adversary, Timur, the Great Emir. Timur's invasion wreaked havoc on the already fragile Golden Horde, further destabilizing its power. During this period of Mongol disarray, the rulers of Hungary, Poland, and Lithuania seized the moment to press their own claims on Mongol territory. Lithuanian forces, in particular, captured Kiev and advanced all the way to the Black Sea, marking a significant shift in the balance of power in Eastern Europe. Finally, the story of Europe's struggle against the Mongols is a reminder of how opportunism and fragmented efforts can shape the course of history. The series of Mongol invasions in Europe is going to be released soon. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us create more amazing content for you. Let's aim for 1,000 likes in the first 24 hours. Every single like counts. And if you have a favorite battle or historical event you'd love to see featured, drop your suggestions in the comments below. I can't wait to hear from you. See you in the next video, and take care.